Believe it or not, right now I'm actually in the middle of Tokyo. Well, despite all the trees, today I've actually come to Meguro, and about 5 minutes away from the main Meguro station is the Institute of Nature Study and the National Museum of Nature and Science. Amid the hustle and bustle of the busy Tokyo streets, it can often be hard to disconnect and truly find a place to disengage the senses. Unbeknown to many travellers and residents alike, there does exist in the middle of the city a few resistant pockets of nature and peacefulness. Today I've come to visit one such place, the Meguro Institute of Science and Nature Study. Hopefully I can recreate that countryside feeling, all whilst being a short 15-minute bus ride away from my central city apartment. When you first arrive, you'll come in through this building behind me. It's the main centre for the Museum of Nature and Science. It's full of specimens of the local wildlife, and they've also got history of the land, how it was created and how it has evolved over the centuries. Inside the main building, you'll find various displays that give you a great overview of the Institute and the kinds of research they carry out here. Most of the information on display is written in Japanese though, so if you don't know any, then you might just have to settle for looking at the pictures. One area set up in the corner is dedicated to an ever-changing display for different events and seasonal research. During my most recent visit, there was a collection of entries for an annual photography competition held within the Institute. This can give you a fantastic summary of the kinds of things you can expect to see when you head out and start exploring the grounds. While the displays are nice, we didn't come here to spend such a lovely day indoors, so let's get out there and experience some inner city nature. This park is open almost every day of the year, and to come in it only costs 310 yen. They only allow 300 people in at any given time though, so when you do come in, they'll give you one of these fetching little pink ribbons. This is just to minimise any disruption to the local wildlife. The entire area covers a pretty sizable 20 hectares, and in total it'll probably take around 2 to 3 hours to see all the sights if you're strolling around at a leisurely pace and stopping every time you see something interesting. Depending on the time of the year, there will always be something different to see, so if you have the chance to visit a second time, I'd recommend coming at a different time of year to your first visit. As the name implies, a lot of studies are carried out here on all kinds of creatures, so you might often see researchers rummaging through the thick foliage, butterfly net in hand, searching for fresh samples and specimens. According to their website, there are currently 3 full-time researchers working on this site and are specialists in the field of the ecology of urban green areas. Of course, as well as the experts, you'll always get that one idiot roaming around with a camera thinking he's the next David Attenborough. My inner 8-year-old now is having a very good time. I'm just picking up all of the insects I can find, including this little furry guy, who, I don't know what it's called, but I've never seen one before. I've seen one similar but never this furry. So I've come here in spring, which is just kind of, in my eyes, perfect. One, it's just before the impending doom of the Japanese summer, in which I will wilt and die, but also there's a lot of stuff coming to life, you know? Like caterpillars roaming around, and because of the caterpillars there's a lot of birds hunting for them as well. So I'm going to go see what else I can find. Species that can be found in the area are also pretty varied, from reptiles and insects to amphibians and birds. Like most places on Earth, The insects here are the most numerous and rank in with a rather impressive 2,130 species currently on record. If you know where to look, you can find some pretty easily, and even if you don't, I'm pretty sure they'll find you. If you plan on exposing any skin during your visit, you'd be well advised to come prepared with a couple of layers of pre-applied insect repellent. This park is home to quite a lot of different species, and more specifically it's home to a lot of birds. Even more specifically it's home to a lot of water birds. Now I've just come to the water bird pond, but it doesn't look like any of them are actually home right now, so I'm going to have to head a little bit further up the path and see if any of them are hiding up that way. With a veritable buffet of insects on offer, it's no wonder that this area is home to 130 species of birds, and because of the additional marshlands, a surprising amount more water birds than you might expect to find in the middle of the largest urban area on the planet. The most audible award certainly goes to the karasu, or black crows, which can be spotted up in the canopy of the trees and have an uncanny talent for beginning their incredibly loud and quite frankly, bloody awful choir practice every single time I reach for the record button on my camera. Probably the most standout species that can be found here is the little egret, known in Japanese as a kosagi. Its long, spindly legs are perfect for stepping quietly through the shallow marshes. A silent approach is key in the acquisition of the all-important afternoon snack. So if Tokyo isn't quite hot enough for you, then this is a great place to come if what you're hoping to turn into is a giant sodden ball of sweat. It's well over 30 degrees today, maybe 32, 33, and under the canopy of the trees with all the moisture in the air, the humidity, for me at least, is almost unbearable. So if you're as pale or as white as I am, then you may be feeling a similar disdain for life in this kind of environment. So make sure you come prepared, bring lots of water, and make sure you make the most of all the drinking fountains that are dotted along the path as you go through. The whole ecosystem here is supported by the wild and luscious greenery at its centre. During the spring and summer months, the trees grow dense and along with the widely spread damp marshlands, creates a humid, jungle-like environment that really allows the wildlife to thrive. It has only been used as such since 1962, after being passed to the Ministry of Education in 1949 and designated as a national monument and historical landmark. Many of the trees here have stood for much longer than the institute itself, and the history of the area is almost as varied as the species that you can find here. According to this sign here, this tree was planted in the Edo era over 300 years ago, which I can believe because look at the size of it. The earliest known activity on this site was settlers in the mid-Jomon period, around 2,500 years ago. Around 1,000 years ago, it is believed that most of the area of modern-day Meguro was cultivated into rice fields. The beginning of the Muromachi period, around 1336, saw further development of the land, with various powerful clans at the time choosing to build large houses on the site. For most of the Edo era, the surrounding area of Shiro-Kanedai was under control of the Buddhist temple Zojoji. Some 300 years later, during the Meiji Restoration, the area was home to a gunpowder magazine, a storage silo of sorts, and was run by the Ministry of Defence. From 1917 to 1949, it served for a few decades as the Shirokane Imperial Estate, under control of the Imperial Family Forests and Fields Bureau. Right, so that's it, it's 4:30 and the park is about to close, so I think I've seen pretty much everything that this place has to offer. Bugs, birds and plants. Just generally a nice mix of wildlife and something very tranquil and you probably wouldn't expect to find in the middle of the city. So if you find yourself in Meguro, then pop down. It's 310 yen, super cheap, and it's just a really nice little city break to get away from things. So thanks for joining me in this video, guys, and until the next one, I'll see you later. If you'd like to visit the Meguro Institute of Science and Nature Study on your next trip to Tokyo, then check down in the description for the location and more information on the area. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon for instant notifications on future uploads. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.